The abrupt ending.
Well, one thing I do love about that intro is the transition. Kind of there, and then it's just. I've always been one of those guys that it's like Stairway to Heaven. Songs that have a transition. They just kind of tease you. They're sort of going along, and then suddenly like shift gears, and it's like, yeah.
So hey everyone, welcome to Awakenings Within. I'm Sandy Archer.
And I'm Bob Scott.
Wait a minute.
We're
that way.
Dark Kansas City.
We're where? Where are we?
Cold and dark Kansas City.
Oh, I know. So. I know. Hi, good. Hey, Larry. There's Larry. Thank you for joining us.
I think some night we need to eat barbecue during our broadcast, because
eat barbecue.
Well, Kansas City's so famous for its barbecue, and so we,
there you go.
We can.
Only if it has cheesy corn. I didn't know anything about cheesy corn until I moved here. I didn't know anything about cheesy corn.
I'm into the baked beans, but I like the baked beans that got the meat in it,
Oh, yeah. That stuff is good. Mm-hmm. That stuff is good. We did
right out of the show and into the refrigerator here. So if you see me disappear, because I talk to myself.
Oh, thanks. I'll just talk to myself. It's okay. Yeah. I can do it. I think I do it all the time. I mean, now that I live by myself, I talk to myself all the time. I walk through doors and go, "Hey, what was that?" What?
I think that's also something that happens with age. So.
Yeah. Shh.
Oh.
What is that? I don't know what that is. I'm still a teenager. You?
I see. See, the problem is as you get older.
Michael just called us kids.
You have so many more experiences and more memories. So you got a whole lot more to sift through, right? So the older I get, the truth of it is because of all that I've read and learned over the years, I got 1,000 more voices in my head than I did when I was younger.
1,000 more.
Yeah. I'm just all these, the past historians, I have Lincoln in my head, you know what I mean? I have George Washington in my head.
Wow.
And so it's like, I have to talk out loud sometimes so I can hear myself over all these voices.
So you have George Washington and Lincoln, and I have Madonna and Kim Kardashian. So what does that tell you? Just kidding.
Yeah, well, maybe sometimes I turn up the music so I don't have to listen to the voices.
Exactly. So yeah, it's a pretty funky week, right? We know nothing. We know nothing.
Yeah.
I say we don't know anything. So Bob, what is it? You're like Sybil. Yeah. So I was thinking of DID, dissociated identity disorder. A friend of mine's spouse had that, and he said that it was like having a boardroom meeting, like they would, all the personalities would meet. Isn't that interesting?
Well, I have the same kind of brain. I've told people over the years that it's odd that I can, if I can be the judge, the prosecutor, and the defending attorney, the defending attorney. Like I literally in conversations can play all the different parts because for some reason I have this gift to see perspective from other people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I get into their shoes.
Yes.
Right. I get inside their skin and try to look at the world through their point of view. Right.
Yeah.
And,
me too.
And I do that all the time. It just instinctively without even thinking about it. And so often I have people say, well, how did you know? Well, it's because I put myself in their shoes, in their skin. You know what I mean? And
that's an empath.
Yeah,
that's an empath. That's an empath thing. Because I do the same thing.
I can all my life.
Yeah, I have too. When people wrong me,
right at the same time.
Yeah, right? because even though they're wronging, even though they're wronging me or something, I can go, well, they're doing it because blah blah blah, and I can I can step in their shoes too and kind of have a little bit of
That's
grace on
also
them.
why I like the,
Too much
I
grace.
tend to stay in the 50,000 foot view up here because I like to see the whole picture.
Hey, Veronica.
When I go to events, I don't, there's people who want to be in the front row, right?
Yeah.
Right. They want to be right there in the front row. I always want to be in the back. And the reason, and up high. And the reason is I want to see what's going on. Like they want to just go see the band. I want to see what the band's doing to the crowd. Right.
Well, yes. You know what? That's what happened to me when I went to Red Rocks in Denver.
Yeah.
Is I was standing in line and I was there really early and I was going to get up front, close to the band. And there were two people standing next to me and I was there for a conference. So I was by myself, and the couple that was standing next to me said, no, follow us. We'll show you the best seat in the whole house. And so we get to Red Rocks, we go to the very last row. And I said, wow. Why are we on the last row? You're way up here. They're like, believe me, this is the best seat because one, it's got a ledge where you can put your drinks. And two, there's nobody behind you and you have a backrest, whereas in Red Rocks, it's all open seating, all going all the way down. And then what happened was there was a rainbow over the amphitheater that night because a little rainstorm came in. So I got to take pictures of this beautiful rainbow, and had I been up front, I wouldn't have been able to see that. So
that's true.
I was just like, wow, what a great perspective, because all the things I'm like, no, I need to be up front, and they were like, no, you need to be back here.
Well, it's like when, and I used to hang out with the Chiefs, they'd always say, well, why don't you go down on the sidelines? Well, that's fun, right? Because you're right in you can see everything up close and personal. But I used to like watching the plays develop. So I'd go down there then I'd go way up high, in the nosebleed section, because you can see everything unfold, right? You can see all 22 players all moving simultaneously, where when you're down real close, you're too close to it.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just personalities, I guess. But I like seeing the 50,000 foot view. I like the big picture, versus the.
Right. I mean, I didn't really care about being down front by the band, because all those years of being with musicians and stuff, it's like, I same way. I would never go and stay in backstage. I hated being backstage. I liked being out front with all my friends and, watching the band from the front view versus from behind, because I mean, you had to stand by the equipment and because you were in music as well, weren't you?
Right. Yeah.
So I mean, that was so boring. And you had to watch the chords.
Depending on when you say the best seat in the house, that's kind of a relative statement, because if you're about the music, if you want to listen, the best seat in the house is sitting right in front of the sound guy.
Yeah. Well,
because the sound guy has the best. The whole auditorium or stadium is being.
It's true.
EQ'd by the sound guy, and so he's got everything from his perspective. So he's sitting in front of him, and it's like, whoa,
Yeah, I went to see one of my favorite.
So we're talking about perspective here. So I'm the same way right now. I see the same thing, with what's going on in the country. People are kind of focused on the election. What I'm actually fascinated by is the human dynamics going on, how society, how we're all reacting to it. I'm finding that fascinating. In some cases disturbing, to be quite honest with you. There are things I'm observing that I got red flags going off, going, no, this isn't good.
Yeah, I don't know how to. I'm not processing it well. Let's just put it that way, because I'm not really understanding, what's happening. All I know is there's a big fight right now on if you should stay on Facebook or jump off to Parler, whatever, Right. And I've gotten inboxes about Parler as well. It's like, okay, I don't know, Right. I come to this point of, I know what I know and I know what I don't know. And I don't know a lot. so there you go.
What I'm really concerned about, I guess.
Hey, Lance.
On my Facebook page today, I talked about gaslighting.
Oh, yeah. That's
which, as a counselor, I have observed in marriage relationships or friendship relationships. It's been
Yes.
something that has been a relational dynamic that's been contextualized between two people.
Yes.
What's really unusual right now in terms of our culture is we're starting to see gaslighting happening from the political arena, from the media,
Yeah.
right? And it's whole groups of people. Like it's gone beyond two people having a conflict to where it's being done in mass. And I got a red flag about that. That's not healthy.
No.
And
No.
I'm really, really concerned about that. I've watched some videos over the last couple of days of statements people have made. And of course, because I'm also a historian besides a sociologist, I'm going,
Right.
does anybody understand history?
Yeah.
Like, do you realize that the things you're saying are the very same dynamics that were happening in 1930s Germany?
Yeah.
That's how the Nazis were talking about the Jewish people.
Yes.
Right? These are the kind of statements that you're making where you're making these huge sweeping stereotype negative statements against groups of people. In Zimbabwe, where I've been so involved, that's how Robert Mugabe committed a genocide against a whole tribe of people. It was that same sort of statements, and I'm just like, wow, what's going on? This is dangerous.
Well, yeah, I read something the other day about one of the parties saying we need to make sure that we write down all the people that supported these other people and make sure that we bring them to task, pretty much. And I was going, whoa, and I mean, they're talking about people in Congress and the House of Representatives. They're not talking about just random residents. They're talking about people in their parties. And it's like, wow.
To bring full circle around to a biblical context, right? If you go back and you study Jesus' life, one of the things that he was particularly strong against was the whole idea of self-righteousness, right?
Yes.
Dogmatism. I'm right, you're wrong. And the reason behind that is that if you go back and study the history of self-righteousness, that's always the seedbed for murder and genocide.
Yes.
You see, there's what happens is it's the incubator, right? It's that incubator. I'm right, you're wrong. You're so wrong, you need to die.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not just a political thing, that's a religious thing as well. I mean, that's what's driving Islam right now, right?
Yeah, it's interesting that you're saying that. I was reading, I added a new person to my genealogy tree today, and it said that he was a Lutheran reverend that had 2 sons that were murdered in Scotland, and that's why he had to move to Ireland and then to the United States. So, and it was because of their religious because they were Lutheran instead of whatever Catholic at the time. So, I mean, it's real stuff. Like, I mean, and that was 1600 and something, it wasn't.
So the history of that, what you're talking about is what happened was many people from Scotland fled to Ireland. That's Northern Ireland. So if people that are listening who remember the IRA, and the bombings, and the big conflict, Ireland was split between the Protestant North, which is where your ancestor would have fled, right?
Yeah.
Because that was a place of refuge.
Londonderry, Ulster Antrim.
The Catholics in the South, right? And it split the country up, right? And again, religion was used as a justification to kill one another.
Yes.
But what's ironic about that to me is that's something that Jesus was patently and intensely against.
Exactly. So it wasn't anything
when the Pharisees, the religious leaders, tried to kill the woman, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the most famous biblical stories we know.
He who
The
has
whole
not
point of
sinned,
it
throw the
was,
first stone. Yes.
yeah, self-righteousness leads to murder.
Yeah. 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 We're
And
we're
so,
we're, we're, we're
I'm
getting heavy
watching
tonight.
this, right? And I'm
Yeah.
seeing these
Yes.
kind of statements being made by people sitting in microphones working for news companies, going,
Yes.
wait a minute, this is Joseph Goebbels all over again.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
the propaganda machine.
Yeah. Oh, it's yes. I'm so thankful that I took that course in high school, Persuasion and Propaganda. I will never forget it. It stuck with me. If I learned anything out of high school, that was my favorite class. It was the one that I learned, and I was shocked. I was like, oh, so that's how war begins, and war is continued, and is through persuasion and propaganda. Has nothing to do with really what's going on. It has to do with what is said is going on. So, right?
Well, then
Right.
behind the thing that's also red flagging me is the statements are made in anger.
Yeah.
So not only do you have self-righteousness, right? I'm watching some of these people and they're like spitting, like they're almost foaming at the mouth. They're so angry. And I'm putting this, you take anger and self-righteousness together.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And so again,
On either side, on both sides.
I'm just trying to raise a warning flag and go, we got to watch this because this is not healthy as a society.
No.
This is not good,
No.
And I don't care if it's on the left or the right. I'm not talking.
Right.
I'm not
That's
sides here. I'm just talking
exactly.
about a dynamic
Exactly.
where we, will, and that's why I was talking about gaslighting. You know what I mean? Where we're telling another whole group of people, you're idiots. You're not living in reality. You're a fool. You know what I mean?
Right. Your opinion is not valid. Your opinion is not the truth. We know the truth, but you don't know the truth. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
what's
happening.
I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And what's put it, what's it's not the problem. It's just a means to the problem, which is social media, right? It's suddenly now we have this technology that allows so many people to make statements. If you think about it, when we were growing up, we had 3, newscasts, right?
Yeah.
And
including
you had a
us.
newspaper. And unless you worked for one of those 2 things, your opinion pretty much stayed in your neighborhood or where you worked, right?
Right.
You and I can make an opinion. Somebody on the other side of the world.
Yes.
Can
we're doing it right now. We're doing it right now.
Right.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
We're like, yeah.
So this social media technology has allowed suddenly things to sort of, it's like everything's on steroids right now. Everything is exaggerated. And that in itself is problematic to me.
Yes.
So anyways, these are things at my 50,000 foot view up here, in the stratosphere, I'm watching all this kind of watching these dynamics going, I'm concerned about a few things here.
Well, I just had the COVID reality hit my sphere this week.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So, nope. Coworker.
Oh.
And tests don't come out. The tests are backed up right now. So like 4 to 5 days, you don't find out. So you have to act like the person has it, that you now have been exposed. So now you're needing to go forward as if you have it and that you're exposed. And so right now I've had to cancel all my activities, had to tell people that I've been around, hey, listen, I may have been exposed. I don't know. I don't have the symptoms. I don't feel like I have it, but apparently I don't know what I'm talking about because I could have it and don't know, I guess. We're back to that. So now I'm having to be, in that weird limbo spot. Like you were talking earlier about, being in the hallway. Like here I am, I'm in the hallway going, I'm getting invited to things and this and that. And I'm like, and then I've been around people in the last 7 days going, I have to tell you this, but I don't think I have it. So I don't think you need to worry, but I don't know. What do you need to do? And then you feel guilty, and then the
I hear
guilt
ya.
comes in, and you're like, and I'm like, why do I feel guilty? It's not my fault. I didn't, and so there, this crazy circle of things. Like, I'm just like, okay, so you quarantine, you do this, you do that,
Yeah.
self-isolate. So here I am. I went to the grocery store. I had my sanitizer and my mask on, and I bought some toilet paper. Everybody, okay? Just saying.
How much?
They're getting ready for the toilet paper crisis.
Problem. It's quantity. How many cases did you buy?
I only bought one big one. That was it.
Yeah.
But there's the thing is, I feel like I now have regressed back to March, when this all started. And so now, and then I get an email that says, hey, they're going to do this and that, and possibly again, and shut down or not, or who knows. And there, once again, I'm going, I think I controlled my environment, but guess what? I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't control this. So now I'm in this like weird zone,
I'm curious if anybody else feels this, but as we were talking earlier, I don't know. I mean, I've been trying to go back through my life and think if I've ever been in a similar period of my life where there were more things I felt between. I mean, it's like you're either this or that, right? And now it just feels like we're between so many things. It's like you just don't quite know. You know what I mean? It's like we don't know.
I think you said the other day. They're still fighting for custody. They're still fighting for custody for us.
Yes, exactly. And I feel like there's that's why I use the phrase, we're all living in the hallway. It's like we're not here. We're not where we were, and we're not where we want to be. And we're all sort of in the hallway.
Yeah.
It feels like, what do they call those things, and, like a fire drill or something, like we're all, I mean, and it's like, what are we doing?
And we still don't know. How about that?
So how do you handle that?
And
I mean, that's one of the questions.
Nothing's changed. Like, nothing has been resolved.
Right.
Like, there's no resolve this year. 2020 is the year of no resolve.
Right. We're not.
Dimension 2020 can suck it. I'm going to tell you that.
Yeah, but it's like we're not where we were, and we're not where we're supposed to. You know what I mean? It's like it's just what I feel, and I think that maybe this is how others feel. It's like everything's out of sync. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
It's like, and again, we talked about this last week, but we Americans are so spoiled because we have lived in a country with just the most reliable infrastructure. Yes. Everything works, right?
We're brats. Yeah.
Everything works, and it's predictable, and we know where to get stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how it works, and the light switch goes on, and the water works, and we can take a shower, and it's all predictable. Which half the world doesn't live like that. They live every day like we're living now.
Right.
So, but what it's done is it's created a great deal of anxiety in us.
Yeah. Did you see the series Schitt's Creek? Okay, there's a Netflix series. It's called Schitt's Creek, and it's a name. It's SCH. Okay, just saying. not saying a bad word. It's like actually called that. It's SCH, and so it's named after somebody. So, and of course, it's a play on words, of course, obviously, but it's a great series into showing how a rich family lost everything and has to live in a motel.
Wow.
And how everything changes, and that they couldn't rely sometimes on the water turning on, like you're saying, like all of that. They had to like go from being wealthy to having nothing. And, just the way the whole thing evolved, by the end is when they figured out their value system. It was pretty cool the way that they made this series, is because and I'm not going to give it away, obviously, but I watched every single season of it in like a month. Right. So I binge watched it. I don't know. Has anybody else seen that series? But I liked it because it was real. Like, you could actually imagine those people, and that's what happened to them, and having to adapt to not having any money and not having the luxury of their life and all of that. It was
Do
pretty
you feel
neat.
like people feel like life is out of control?
I think they do. I
Yeah.
think
I mean, I'd be curious to hear what people have to say, but I mean,
yeah.
I get the
What do you
impression that
guys
a lot of
think?
people are dealing with this sense that things are out of control, right?
Yeah, post in the
And
comments,
on top
everybody.
of this,
Yeah.
this pandemic, which has thrown all kinds of things. Now we've had a
Yes.
political, season with an election, and that's out of control. So it's just like everything got, and
It's not
of course,
ended
if
yet.
you're living in Central America, you just had a hurricane. They feel like it's out of control. If you're living in Hong Kong and you're dealing with the Chinese government, that's out of control. Like
Yeah, some friends of mine in Florida, they just had a tropical storm hit. They never have it in November. They were like, "What's a?" And no, they had power outage. And then a friend of mine who's on here, he was on my show the other night, and his whole block of power went out.
Right.
So I mean, we are in some really weird. I don't know. I feel like we're in the twilight zone.
Right.
Da-na-na-na.
Feeling this sense of I'm not in control.
Yeah.
Creates anxiety. So one of the questions that I ask myself is, okay, but the reality of it is most of the things, the presidential, well, that's out of our control, right?
That's totally out of our control.
We can't, what's going to happen with COVID in America? That's out of our, I mean, there's all these things that are being thrown at us.
Because we thought just by voting,
we can't control any of it, right?
Yeah. We thought, well, we're gonna vote. We're all gonna vote, so we're gonna have a say.
Right.
Oh, sorry, no, sorry.
So now then I ask what can we control?
We can control here.
Okay.
We can control this.
All right.
I think we can control our prayer life. We can control our emotions. We can control. That's about it.
Oh,
we can control our physical body, our mind, body, soul. We can control those things.
We're still in control with our families and our friends in our church.
We can control our environment
things that,
somewhat.
Yeah.
Well, I say that, but no, I can't control my environment. I go to work and then now my environment's been tainted. Now I have a tainted environment and now I have to go backwards and go, oh, I'm sorry, you were in my environment. So now you need to be careful, you know? And so, like for me, who, I help with the homes, help with them. They want to be on our show, by the way.
Okay.
Hopefully they still can. I was going to have them on next week, but they have a cool story.
Me, I'm sorry you can't do that. Monday I was over hanging with the grandkids because I got a 7 and a 9-year-old and they love the Mandalorian, and the new Mandalorian season came out, right? So according to them, they keep me up on all this stuff that I had to be there because the first episode was going to disappear off of Disney, so I had to come over so we could watch 2. So there I went down in the big family room with the giant TV, and I got the 2 little guys and big sister.
Why is it disappearing?
What?
Why is it disappearing? I haven't watched the first one yet.
Because I guess according to the boys, they're saying that they only keep it up for like 2 weeks and then it goes away, and then you won't be able to go back and see the first one until all episodes have been shown or something. So I don't know if that's true. That's their little 7 and 9.
Well, I better go watch it because I thought I was watching it the other night and it was the first season. I was like, wait a minute.
I was sitting there though, and so the reason I'm bringing it up is because that's something I can control. I can go to their house, you know what I mean, and I can hang out with them, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm loving every minute of it because it's all connection, right? It's just this environment where you have these kids who are all excited for their papa to come over and watch this thing. And of course, I got one that we call Sir Explain a Lot because he has to try to tell me everything before it's going to happen. And so I got to tell him, Ollie, shut up, man. I want to be surprised, Right. And then the other one, Harrison, he's on the other side, kind of trying to give me the philosophical side of what it means, And so, but I'm in the middle of all this going, yeah, this is cool.
Cute.
You know what I mean? You know what? I don't really care about the presidential election right now. You know what I mean? I'm not really thinking about COVID right now. I'm just thinking about I'm enjoying my family. You know what I mean?
That's right.
So I can
That's right.
control
But
this.
right. But what if you found out somebody that you came in contact with had COVID? Then how would
Well, I
that
gotta
change
stay
your
home.
environment?
Talk to him on
Then
the
you got
phone.
exactly.
Yeah,
Stinks. Stinks.
exactly.
I mean,
But it's temporary.
I hope so.
Oh,
I hope so.
you're gonna stay in your house for the rest of your life and can't come out.
Who, me? Oh, no way.
That's
That
what
would
I'm
never
saying.
work for me. That would
So-
never work for me. I mean,
So I
I'd have
think
to
for a
like,
lot of people, then the exposure to COVID, the reason
Mhm.
why that creates a fear, which is interesting, even though 0.001% die, your brain goes to the worst case scenario. I mean, I
yeah.
have Mike and I just had a friend who lost his roommate, young guy,
Oh no.
to COVID a few days ago, and so
Oh
it's like,
no.
this is so bizarre. How is it that, most of the people that are in my circle that have had it said it wasn't even as bad as the flu,
Right.
and
So
then somebody else is like,
yeah.
it
Yeah.
takes them out, and you're just going, I think that creates anxiety because it's like, wait a minute, we have such extreme reactions.
It's a wild card.
But it's an anomaly,
It's a
right?
wild card. Yeah.
The truth
It's a
of it is
wild
people
card.
dying with COVID is a real minute, oddity. It's
Yeah.
not the norm, but
Yeah.
your brain goes there, right?
Yeah. Well, I've been pushing the vitamins. I've been taking zinc tablets. I've been doing those kinds of things to boost my immune system.
Right.
So I'm going to do some preventative type things and try to get a handle, I guess, on it before it, I come into contact with it again, I guess, because I mean, it's a virus. So it's a virus.
But as Dr. Fauci said, it's not ever going away.
No.
So, I mean, it's not like we're going to eradicate it. You know what I mean? What we can do is we can react to it.
Yes. Yes. And I keep hoping for that herd immunity thing, whatever. if that happens. I mean, I know some herds that had it, so so yeah, I mean, again, we come back to the same questions we did back in March, and then we still don't have any resolve, over our
but I'm more interested in how people are reacting to everything. You know what I mean? I mean, we can sit here and debate ad nauseum about the technicalities of it. The bigger issue is how do we respond? How do we
go forward?
With all this?
That's
and especially right now, I'm just thinking we're getting ready to go into this holiday season. We just had a Halloween, right? We're a couple weeks away from Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And we got Christmas, and these are
and I'm going. Right. I'm going to see my children in Arkansas. So I can't be sick. But
it's family. So I guess where I'm going with all this is that, it's I think it's really key in this season that we focus on the things we can control and the things that are meaningful. So when you go to Thanksgiving this year, and the word I'm going to use here is savor. And the reason why I'm using the word savor is because as Americans, we are consumers.
Yes.
We consume. It's rapid. That's why we have fast food, because we want it fast.
Yes, we do.
Fast and cheap, right?
Yes.
It's
not cheap anymore.
Thanksgiving and don't consume Christmas. Savor it.
Yeah.
Put it in your mouth and suck on it for a while, meaning savor it, right?
Yeah.
Let it fill you. Look around the room. Appreciate what's going on. And whatever happens, don't let stupid things steal it, stupid arguments about things that, you know what I mean? So be intentional about Thanksgiving.
Be thankful at Thanksgiving this year. Be very thankful.
But savor it, right? In other words, appreciate it, value it, realize that it's here and it's in front of you, and live it now, you know?
Exactly. So
Yeah,
so
because we
I
have such
am
a
very
habit of just
thankful.
consuming,
Yes.
moving fast, you know?
So anybody, okay, so Michael said it has for me, but I'm not sure what his comment was to. So
Oh, we're
thank
talking
you
about
for
COVID,
commenting.
you know, and his experiences
COVID.
with it.
Yeah. I mean, it has changed some
He wanted me
awareness.
to come over and give him a hug tonight. So I told him, no, I already had a date with you and I couldn't come over and hug him
Oh.
because he's past his 10-day window, you know?
Oh, I'm
I
huddled
was
in the closet
conflicted.
for
Do
4
I
years.
get on with Sandy, or I do go give Mike a much needed hug after his isolation?
Aw, Mikey needed a hug.
Exactly.
Oh, I'm so sorry. But he's got Tina. She can give
Yeah.
him a hug.
Yeah.
She can.
Uh-huh.
Yeti. What are you saying? Yeti R? What? Yeti. Oh, he said he's calling you a two-timer.
Yeah.
Hey,
both sides.
we already had it on the books, Michael. Sorry.
Yeah.
We already had it on the
I
books.
already had made a commitment.
A commitment. Commitment.
Exactly.
Exactly. But I agree with you. And in this time, I mean, here's what, what is God saying?
Mm-hmm.
I look at when we got on tonight, what I was listening to a preacher. And I've seen so many people coming out with prophetic words, and you have to be really careful with that because, I mean, everybody can have a prophetic word out there. I could have one.
Pathetic words.
But yeah,
There's
but what is
pathetic.
Yeah. So if there's a prophetic word, you usually have to look in scripture to back whatever that is that they're saying up. I always believe in that verification.
Well, yeah, but most of it, the truth of it is, most of the prophetic words that are being bantered around by now, you don't have to do anything with. There's nothing to do. You just watch. And either they're right or wrong. I mean, it's kind of simple. So I don't go high or low with any of it.
Right.
I told somebody the other day from the UK that was asking me about it, and they go, "Well, what do you think?" I go, "I bought my popcorn."
Yeah.
They go, "What do you mean?" I go, "I'm out here in the audience. I'm watching. I don't have to do anything, right?
All right.
I don't have to believe it or not believe it. I'm just watching."
That's right.
So I bought my popcorn and I'm watching the whole thing. And over the next few months, it's going to do one or the other. You know what I mean? And so,
and that comes back to, what is it that you're putting your faith in? If you're putting your faith in an election, I feel sorry for you right now. Right. And if you're putting your faith in, what you see in front of you, if you only put your faith in what you're seeing and hearing from others, then that's where you're going to get misled. So that's why it's so important for you to connect and to hear or to pray or whatever that is to help calm you. I think God speaks to people in different ways. Right. And like for me, he never gives me a heads up. Like, I'm not prophetic. You know why? Because he knows I'll run with it and he knows I'll run ahead. And so he doesn't give me total prophetic things ahead of time. He'll give it to me a revelation before he'll give me a prophecy. So, right. That he knows my personality and he knows me. So, because he made me. So there are some people that do have that gifting, and I do like to listen to them. I do watch them. But like you're saying, Bob, I just sit back and observe because I don't know if they're right or they're wrong, or, what they hear and how they interpret it.
See, here's, and this is, I mean, this is just me. So, I mean, I'm not putting this on anybody else, but whether Donald Trump or Joe Biden are president of the United States, God's still going to have his way. I know for the Christian community, and especially religious leaders who have institutions they're trying to preserve, their favorite choice is Donald Trump, because they see him as a sort of Samson, right? He's their deliverer. He's, for 60 years, the institutional church in America has been under assault
Yeah, I
and
heard he was a King Cyrus type.
values and worldview that so much of the
Mhm.
country was originally built on has been eroded away. So the institutional church world feels like it's been under assault for a really long time. Suddenly, somebone with a jawbone stood up and started swinging back. And I understand, I get the sentiments of why
Yes,
so many people see
are
him
behind.
as their deliverer. At
Right,
the same time, I'm also aware of the fact
right.
that the church historically does better when it's not in power. It doesn't have political clout.
Because
It
it's not
doesn't
supposed
have
to.
institutional power, and it's brought back to its original relational and spiritual
Mhm.
roots. And that resistance builds strength. So
Yeah,
I'm not concerned either way. You know what I mean? If the resistance keeps coming,
mhm.
right, then
Yes.
we got to put on our big boy spiritual pants and
Mhm.
get, and get serious. I mean, American, again, I'm got to be careful here because I don't want to make people feel bad, but so much of American Christianity is predicated on the fact that we have a political system that allows us the freedom of expression, and we have an economic system that allows us to build massive facilities.
Yes.
You take
Yes.
those two things away, and where is Christianity in America?
Where's your church? It's the people.
Right. But
It's
where does it
the
go? Right.
people.
And
Yeah.
we have not had to face that. So
Yeah.
there's some level of fantasy maybe about how spiritually strong we are, who we think we are, because we've had a lot of money
Yes.
and we've able to, to fund missions all over the world. We think, our money shows the fact that we're spiritually strong. We've got more books and more churches and more people on the radio. And those
Yeah.
are all signs that we believe show that we have strong Christianity. Jesus,
Right.
I think, has a very different worldview of the
Yes.
situation.
Who are you being hands and feet of his to?
Right.
In person.
And so resistance builds strength. And
Right.
so I'm not going to be bent out of shape if we don't get if our Samson goes away. I'm not going to be bent out of shape about it because guess what?
Well,
We're going to have to get more serious. You know what I
right.
mean?
Well, I know that there are a lot of people are like, get on your knees and pray for this and pray for that. Well, how about you do that always and
Right.
pray for whoever is in power, whoever is in leadership, whoever is your mouthpiece. Pray for them. Pray for them that God will that will speak through them. They'll just start speaking and they'll start speaking God. They won't even know what they said. Those things can happen, and you have to just pray for those people. You have to stop. Like you're saying, stop worrying about which party they're in. Just pray for them, regardless, that they will be a mouthpiece for God, to the people. But that's not their role. That's not their role.
I see, we try to contextualize the New Testament in America.
Yes.
And I think, do you even realize that the whole of the New Testament was written under a political system that was vehemently anti-Christ?
Yes.
Right.
They were trying to crucify him the whole time.
Right. I'm just saying the whole of the New, right? The reason you saw signs and wonders, right? The reason you saw all that stuff was they didn't have economic power. They didn't have political power. Remember the whole the statement that I think it was Peter made. Silver and gold have I none. Therefore, rise up and walk. Right? They didn't. They didn't have the money to send somebody to the hospital.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, did you see how much money these candidates raised for their campaigns? It just makes me ill. It makes me disgusted. It makes me grossed out. It makes me just
how our
want
values
to
are all
cry.
out of skew here.
Mhm.
You know how many poor people we could have helped in America?
Exactly. That's why it makes me want to cry. One of them, she raised $13 million. Like, why? Go feed some people. Hello, go feed some people.
You should have seen. I posted that on my Facebook page a couple of weeks ago because when I read it, I thought it said one. Well, it actually said 10.8, but then millions more came in, so I just run it off to 11. But I thought it was, I thought I read that. I was like, nah, no way. I mean, the number is so astronomical.
A local person. It wasn't a national. It wasn't a president. It was a local person. $13 million. Why did you not help somebody with that? I mean, as many stupid flyer things that they sent me through the mail, I could have made a house, no doubt. Well, I could have just taped it all together.
I mean, this is just my logic. I'm like, you know how many black businesses we could have funded for?
Exactly.
Like we're all talking about, let's help each other. Let's do all this different stuff.
Makes me sick.
And we're like, what?
Yeah. That's why I guess that's why the whole campaign, election, all of that, I'm with you on that. I'm totally agree.
It's like something's really goofy here because that $11 billion, right, there's nothing substantive left. You know what I mean? That went on advertising, right? That went up in air, right? There's nothing that you can look back on that was built with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're getting elected in their mind.
Think about all like I said, all the minority businesses we could have funded, right?
God, I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I saw a lady standing out on the corner the other day, and I thought she was asking for money, and all it said was "Jesus is Lord." That was it. And I was like, oh, that lady's just standing there shaking her little sign. Jesus is Lord. That's all she, I mean, I thought that was, I don't know, that one little thing I thought was so nice. I don't know why it touched me. I was just like, wow, she didn't want anything. She was just, standing there on the corner shaking her sign.
Yeah. We really do have a values problem. I mean, it's just things are out of whack. It's our values really are. You know what I mean? I mean that we would spend that money, but then the way we're talking to each other, like we were talking about the public gaslighting of whole groups of people. I mean, we've it's like, where did respect go? Honor, dignity. I'm old enough to know and remember Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill. Right? Ronald Reagan was the big Republican guy. Tip O'Neill was the head of Congress, and he was a Democrat. And you know what they used to do? It's crazy, right? They'd be on two sides of an issue. There'd be all this debating going on in the House of Representatives and different stuff. And Ronnie and Tip would go have a beer together, right?
Yeah.
And they'd figure it out.
Right.
And then they go back and tell their guys, okay, this is what we're all going to do. We're going to.
I love that. Yeah. Well, Michael, that's what he just said. We should
common solution to a problem. So here's another thing, which is interesting. I find this is our dynamic that we're in right now. You know what I find interesting? There's not hardly anybody that disagrees on what the problems are.
Right.
You notice that? That's like I'm sitting there and I'm listening. I'm going, wait a minute. Everybody agrees with what the problems are. So what are we fighting over, right? We're fighting over solutions.
Yeah.
Right? Well, how do companies do it? Right? You get everybody in a room and you work together, right?
Yeah.
Because, and this is the problem with government, because government doesn't have to earn an income. It just takes our money, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's very little, right? So if the government had to actually make money, come up with solutions that they got paid for, how it would work would be so different.
Exactly. Right? So Michael's saying something about a chasm. I'm not sure. The chasm was 10 yards. Now it's 500.
Oh yeah. We were talking, because I was explaining this the other day that, that back in those days, the way the political system was a little to the left and a little to the right. And now we're in a situation where the extremes are screaming the loudest.
They are. We've never, there's no moderate anymore, I guess.
having said that, one of my heroes lived in such a time, and his name was Abraham Lincoln.
I was going to say Lincoln or Washington. Which one?
It was as far then as it is now. Now, let's hope we don't have to have an armed conflict in our country to get there. You know,
that's a worry.
Absolutely tragic.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. If I don't have a worry, but that might be just one. And so,
right. But I'm just saying, Lincoln. You know, the thing that I love about Lincoln was humble enough to go, what if we're both wrong?
Yeah.
Right. That's what made Lincoln so special to me. Was
I don't think anybody's going to do that.
He doubted himself. He wrestled with his own demons, and he was never shy about it. Right. And when he talked, he never talked with this dogmatic, I'm right, you're wrong. He was always trying to find this common ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the Gettysburg Address, some of the things that he wrote are just amazing if you go back and look. And so I think, because of the fact that history repeats itself, we would be wise to go back and reread Lincoln.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like Michael said, it's about money and power. I mean, that's really, somebody's kind of control something. Right. That's all they want.
That's right.
That's all it's about. It's about money, power, control.
But if the federal government had to be a business like Mike's business, how they would conduct their business would be completely different, right?
Yeah.
In some ways, I mean, I hate to say this, but churches are in the same situation a lot of times. It's like because tithe, right?
Yes.
And I've seen the same inefficiencies in the religious world as they have, because it's a little more complicated. Having said that, though, people in the church can vote with their feet, right? We don't like it, we leave. You can't do that
in the government. Well, you can.
Right?
We could go somewhere else. Yes.
Well, there's a whole lot of people that said they would get to do that.
That we're all going to leave.
Yeah.
There we go. Hey, Matt.
So anyways, it's an interesting time right now as, we're watching all of this, but history repeats itself.
And it does. Everybody's got to get
what's at the root underneath it all. It's the same stuff that we during the Civil War. It's the same.
It's cyclical.
The same. This versus that. Worldviews colliding. People wanting power and control.
Yes. Hey, Tina. So new people are showing up. We were getting heavy. We always, not that we don't ever. I mean, Bob and I never talk about light things, do we? We try. We try.
Light, then go to a fair and eat cotton candy.
I don't think I could have a light conversation with you, Bob. I don't think I could.
I have to eat heavy.
Yeah, but I'm like a lighthearted person. I can never.
Well, Jesus called that milk.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'm honey then. I'm like honey.
Okay.
You're the meat and the milk. I'm like honey. Huh?
Well, you know what I like? I like locusts with my honey.
Ooh, locusts?
Okay, I'm using a word picture here because we're talking about biblical things, right?
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
John the Baptist liked his grasshoppers dipped in honey.
Ooh. That doesn't even.
They're healthy for you,
gross.
They're healthy for you.
No taxation without representation. That's right. That's right.
We have a Boston Tea Party.
We should.
There we go.
What are we going to throw over? It's all those election pamphlets. That's what we need to throw over.
Is there such
Can we get all the flyers that they sent out?
All politicians out of the boat and put business people in charge of the federal government? You know what I mean?
Something like that. That's what we need to do. We need to. Oh boy! And Tina's now talking about tomorrow's the Friday the 13th. I mean, I don't think anybody is even superstitious about Friday the 13th anymore. I think that's over. I think the Friday the 13th.
If you think that bad things happen on Friday the 13th, then this is Friday the 13th whole year.
Groundhog Day. Right? It's the Groundhog Friday the 13th. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. We've been living on Friday the 13th for the whole year.
And I keep calling it Dimension 2020, and I'm just afraid that a dimension goes a little bit longer than a year. That's the problem.
Okay.
And that's why I decided to name it Dimension 2020 versus the year.
Right.
Because unfortunately, it might go a little longer.
Right.
Because we don't know. Right?
Right.
This is what we're like. That little silly emoji that goes like this. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's where we're at. But the first one was on the shutdown. Oh, I didn't know the first Friday the 13th was on the shutdown. Ooh, well, maybe that's the end
I
of
just
it.
hope people listen tonight and they walk out of, they walk out of here. Yes. If you're in our room, just realizing that despite the fact that we're all living in the hallway, and despite the fact there's a whole lot of things that are out of our control, there is an element in our lives that we can control, and we can be the light in our own universe, right? And
I like what Matt just said, though. The year that shall not be named.
Good one. I like that, Matt.
Yeah, exactly. Or next year we'll be going, you're such a 2020.
Yeah, exactly.
You're totally a 2020.
Well, you know how street lingo develops, and that could very well be the case. So it's like in companies, like when everything, wheels start falling off, and something will go, that's a 2020.
Yeah. Don't
2020.
Yeah, it changes even us, the phrase of 2020 vision. We do not want 2020 vision now. We do not. We'll be like, I'll take 2019 or 2021 vision.
When people go crazy now, I'm going to don't go 2020 on me.
Don't go 20. Stop going 2020. Yeah, exactly.
Don't go 2020 on me.
The element that I control is tacos. Exactly, Matt.
That's what I mean.
Taco Tuesdays.
Control our diet and our relationships and our, the one constant in our life is our relationship with God. He never changes.
That's right.
So in the midst of all of the change, that's the one constant. He's never changed.
Exactly. You can
now as he always was.
Yes.
He's the Alpha and the Omega.
Yes, he is. Amen. You can stay solid in that. You can stay solid in that inner foundation, your inner principles, your values. Those things don't have to go to the wayside, Yeah. But wear your mask.
No, but I'm just saying so don't let all of the swirl, I actually had a friend that got sucked up into a tornado. I mean, he lived to tell the story, but I think a lot of people, that's what they're feeling like. There's this tornado. Well, what's interesting is the reason most people die in a tornado is the things in the tornado that hit them. In other words, the tornado picks up all this stuff like refrigerators, and cars, and houses, and people that die in tornadoes, they get hit by what's in the tornado.
That's right.
Is don't get sucked up into the tornado, and you have control over that, right?
Yeah.
You have control of not getting sucked up into the tornado. Let it go. Let all that stuff that's out of your control go. Just release it. Let it go.
Yeah, in exactly what Michael was saying, and about embracing. You need to embrace what matters to you right now. You've got to. I mean, we have an opportunity to see what is true and what is, true to us. That's what I mean. We don't know the truth in anything else, but we know what's true in here. We know it's true in our hearts.
I think what Mike is talking about is that without death, you don't appreciate life. In other words, every time somebody dies, you go, "Oh my gosh!" Right?
Yeah.
You appreciate money when you don't have money, right? And so what's weird is we live between these diametric forces, these extreme forces, and one gives value to the other. That's the irony of it all.
Yes.
So as Mike is saying here, in times of conflict, it makes you appreciate the peace.
The peace. That's right. But
or if you're in the conflict, like I did on Monday, I was in a time of peace. I was there with ugly grandkids and enjoying them. Right. I was there, man. And I was appreciating it because I lived in 2020.
Hey, remember that year? Yeah.
I've been living in 2020, so I was really enjoying the peace and the camaraderie and the familiness,
Remember that year we went through? We'll be talking about this when we're older. We'll be talking about it. Don't worry. It'll
Oh,
be.
my
It
mom's
will be passed.
generation,
It
as I
will.
wrote in one of my books, my grandfather's generation remembers the day the stock market collapsed, right? My
Yes.
mom's generation was formed by Pearl Harbor.
Yes.
Everybody remembers where they were. I think for a lot of us, it was 9/11.
9/11.
We all kind
Yep.
of remember where
right.
you were. But
Yeah.
what was interesting is those were all events of a certain day. This is like a whole year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's why I'm calling it a dimension. Yeah.
Exactly.
Dimension
We've been in the
2020.
space.
So everybody, that's what we're always coming back to. I mean, that's why this show is named the way it is. Awakenings Within. I mean, it's within that you can stay sturdy, but with God's help. I mean, I'm not saying just in yourself, but I mean, those are the places that you need to look to calm yourself. I mean, a lot of this stuff is out of our control. And as soon as you recognize that, I think even just coming to that realization, hey, guess what? I can't control this. Okay. And how are you going to deal with it? There's no resolve. We're not resolving anything right now. There's no resolve. The reason
why things get picked up in storms is they're not anchored.
Yes.
So what are you anchored into?
Yep.
If you're anchored into the bedrock, and for me, my bedrock is God.
Yes.
Right? And the teachings of Jesus. That's what I'm drilled in. I drill down into that, and that's where I've put my pinions. Yep. And the storm may come, but it ain't gonna rip me up because I am.
Well, what's sad is that people don't realize that's the founding fathers. That's where their foundation was from.
Right. But it was also Lincoln during the Civil War. That was the one thing that kept him sane.
Yeah. And I think I wish people would recognize that's what kept them, that foundation. I mean, they take it so out of context, I think, of what really history was and what it meant and what they were trying to succeed. I heard something the other day, though, that, luckily the people that wrote the Constitution knew that this would happen. So that's why they wrote things the way they did. And some of it is coming to pass as far as in voting right now in the election. They knew this might happen someday. That's why they wrote it the way they wrote it.
Well, the founding fathers were aware of the fact that humans are self-centered.
Yes.
I mean, what being that so many of them had seen the tyranny of rulers in Europe, they realized that humanity, when given a chance, always wants to control the power and the wealth, right? There's and that had been the story, the testimony of history for thousands of years. So they were trying to set up a system to prevent that from happening again.
Yes.
So that there wouldn't be a group of people or a person who would dominate the whole of our society.
I have to say that those documents to me now mean so much more than ever. I have to admit that I had to go back and I reread them with new eyes. I've read everything now and went, whoa, they foresaw this. They knew this was coming. Why? Because it's cyclical. It's happened before.
Well, they understood human nature, didn't they? They understood what drove humans. And that I think therein lies their brilliance, is they recognize the fact that we have this self-centered tendency. And we're being tested. I bet, but we've been tested before. I mean, the Young Republic was tested in 1812, and then we were tested during the Civil War, and we've been tested before, and so we're being tested again.
Great. Now Matt has me thinking of the Devil Went Down to Georgia song. Thanks, Matt.
Yeah, Charlie Daniels, may he rest in peace.
But I know we lost him too.
Yeah.
I know Alex Trebek. I mean, look at all the people that we've lost this year. That had some kind of celebrity, status. Not that I knew. I mean, we're all gonna die. I'm sorry. Should I end that on a bad note?
Great. I'm always up. I'm Sandy. I like things like. Okay.
I know.
I'm like, all right, what happened? The other Sandy?
I'm the light one. You're the
exactly. What happened to Sunny Sandy? I'm like, huh? That must
Sorry.
be your alter ego over there. Dark
Doesn't mean,
Debbie.
it's okay.
Dark
We're all
Debbie?
just gonna die. I mean, whatever. I mean, it's true.
Okay, we're all gonna die. And with that, goodbye.
Okay, I'm gonna play a song we're gonna end on a song. It's called Joy, because I think that we need a little bit of that.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm just gonna end on this, because you really do need to have joy. That's what you have to tap back into, right?
Mhm.
And I'm gonna show you my cool lights that hear the song. Watch. Hopefully it'll do it. Oop. See my ha. There we go. Yeah, Eddie Van Halen even died. Blame it on me. Tina, it's not your fault. Here we go. Okay, you guys, thank you. Listen to the song for real. It's for King and Country Joy. They'll probably shut me down now. But thank you guys for joining. Thanks, Bob. You are such a blessing. Thank you guys all for joining us. All right.
Honey Sandy.
All right. Bye. Not tonight.